Hello and welcome, I'm Tim and this is SV Paquita. And you know what? Such a nice night, all alone here, middle of the ocean. I mean, I'm alone, everyone else is down below sleeping, that sort of stuff. But I thought this would be a good time to kind of give you guys a live update. Of course, it probably won't be live, you'll see it. I mean, I'll try to get this together and out for you later on tonight, but you get the idea. So anyway, to see if I can spin this around, see if I can do this. Does this work? No, it doesn't work. Just my luck. Okay, anyway, let's see if I can do this way. I'm not going to be able to see what I'm pointing at, so I'm hoping that you guys can see all this. But this is us. We've gone 1,435 miles. We've got 691 miles to go. The water temperature was up to 670 just a little while ago, but it seems to have dropped off. The wind has fallen off. We've had about 18 knots of wind all day, but the true wind's about 12, and you can see it's about 9 right now. Still making about 5.5, 6, 5 occasionally. So it's all right, we're getting there. So if everything goes right, I'm hoping that we'll get into Horta. We might be able, if we push it, we might be able to get there Friday night, but I think that you gotta get clearance when you go in during business hours and that sort of stuff. So I think we'll time it to get in there sometime, hopefully Saturday, and hopefully that will work. But as you can see, the sun is going down behind us because we are eastbound. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west, so you see the sun back there. Horta is 4 hours ahead of East Coast time, or what I call New York time, Eastern Standard Time, but people seem to know it better as New York time. Anyway, so at some point we were going to have to switch our clocks. I woke up this morning at 3:30 this morning, and it's bright and sunny out because we hadn't changed our clocks yet. And you could change them 4 times for the 4 hours that we'll have to go on our way over there, and we could totally do that. But I made an executive decision that today we would change all our clocks 4 hours ahead to put it on Horta time right now. Horta is the port we're going to in the Azores. And I think technically where we are right here, we're about 3 hours ahead of New York. But we've set it to it. So according to this, we think that it's really like at 9:30 at night. And I just Googled, I said, what time does the sun set in Horta today? And it was like 9:17 at night or whatever. So Horta being almost 700 miles east, the sun is already set there, 15 minutes ago. But as you can see, we probably have about an hour more of sun behind us. So I think that's going to work well. And by the time we get there, we won't have to acclimate to a new time zone. We'll be all set to go. More boring stuff for you guys, I'm sure. We made a whole bunch of water yesterday. And we also while we were making water, it was so nice after being beat up. We all took showers, and that was really nice. It was nice to have a shave, and oh, it was wonderful. Hot, and we had enough power in the batteries to have hot water. We're making from right off of the lithium batteries, and it's a crazy use of energy, but why not? So anyway, we were able to do that, and a hot shower in the middle of the Atlantic after you've been beat up. We got beat up for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. I don't know, it always seems like an eternity when it's happening. Then when it's over, you're like, oh, it wasn't so bad. But yeah, it was part of the plan. We knew it was coming, and we knew that we were just going to have to bite the bullet and go through it, and we did, and everything was fine. But I have been noticing my numbers on my Watermaker, my production numbers have been gradually getting worse and worse and worse. And my pressures have been staying the same. And in doing some research, I believe what I've found is that my lack of experience or lack of running a system. It's nice when you have systems that you've run for a couple of years and you know all the ins and outs of them and that sort of stuff. That was not the case with this system, especially since I've kind of put this system together myself. And there is some debate as far as doing a freshwater flush after you make water with it, how long you do it, and whether it's time or volume or gallons per hour or parts per million. And there's a whole bunch of debate on that. And I don't know where I got this stupid idea in my head, but Lord knows I do have a couple stupid ideas every once in a while. But I just kind of thought to myself, you know what, if you just keep making water, it's going to be fine. There won't be any time for anything bad to build up in the membrane. And I think that was ultimately a really, really poor decision on my part. And after doing research, apparently what the Spectra, the company that I'm using, and the membrane that I'm using, what they want is, there's some people say you need to flush it for 2.5 to 3 minutes. And no, what they really want to see is they want to see 2.5 to 3 gallons of water exiting the system. When I say exiting the system, that's where the brine would come out. And of course, it's fresh water. Hopefully it won't be briny at all. And I have some sort of restriction. I'm not exactly sure where, because I'm using that... people who aren't into Watermakers this won't mean anything, but I have this thing called a Zion filter or something like that. Anyway, it's a carbon filter that's supposed to remove the chlorine from any city water that you're flushing with, but it also has a rod in it, and through some electrolysis, when you turn it on, it's supposed to release ions of I think silver and copper, I think, and they're supposed to impregnate your filters and the membrane itself. And instead of having to do a freshwater rinse every 5 to 7 days, you can let it go for 30 days. That was the plan. That's why I spent a lot of money for that system, and I put all that system in. But somewhere in there, I'm not getting the flow that I need to get. And so in the process, I think what happened was I was not flushing my filter correctly. And so little by little, because I also started seeing my water quality started going up. And you'd say, if your membrane's failing, wouldn't the water quality go down? I don't know. Maybe you guys are smarter than me. You can tell me different. The way I'm seeing it, the way I'm thinking how it goes, and like I say, this is just my theory. I don't know. I'm still learning about this. But I think what happened on almost a molecular scale is, as the membrane started to get plugged up with things that I should have been washing away with a freshwater rinse, just so you don't have to look at me all the time here, as that started to happen, what also happened was the pieces in the membrane started to get, the porousness of the membranes, it became less porous, is what I'm trying to say. And that would, and I came up with this idea because I think that if that would happen, the result of it being less porous is that our pressures would remain the same, but the flow rate for the product water would decrease, and that's exactly what has been happening. I think when I got the thing, it was doing around 14, 16 gallons per hour, and now it's down to about 6 to 8 gallons per hour or something like that. So it still works, but as that happens, if the things become less porous, if the membrane becomes less porous, what's going to happen is the quality of water that gets through is going to be cleaner. And where I was running about 250, sometimes 300 parts per million, I'm down like sometimes 123, sometimes 98, and that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm hoping is the issue. So what was interesting was that they say that if you take care of the system and you do everything right, a membrane should last for almost 10 years. And look at these big waves. It's not really rough out here, but you get these big swells that come by and roll you just every once in a while. But anyway, so a membrane should last about 10 years if you take care of it, and mine hasn't lasted, more than a couple months, just because I don't think that I did take care of it very well. But had I bought a new membrane at the cool people in Fort Lauderdale, they have one. I think they have it for sale for like $310, and that would have been great. I contacted somebody in Gibraltar and said, hey, can you get one of these? They said, sure. It's going to be 819 euros plus 85 euros for shipping. It basically means about $1,000. I was like, what? That's crazy. So anyway, I can, as much as I wanted to get the one from, and I called our distributor, and our distributor that's in Florida doesn't really want to send me one in the Mediterranean because of the other people that are selling, that it's not their turf, and so I get that. And they gave me some numbers, some people to contact and that sort of stuff. But I had bought a membrane before through Amazon, and so I reached out to my friend who lives in Spain, and I said, "Hey," and he's going to see it. Our plan is to see Antonio and Amy anyway. They live over in Benalmádena by Malaga, and I said, "Hey, if I give you this Amazon number, will it work?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Can you get this?" He goes, "Sure." He says, "Well, you won't get it until June 9th to the 13th. I said, "Well, I'm not going to be there until the end of June, beginning of July anyway, so that's fine." And so he's able to get it for me for, I think, like 314 euros or something like that. So hopefully that's going to solve the thing. But I'm not going to just throw it in there. I'm going to fix the issue. I mean, right now, I'm running the Watermaker now, and I'm running it for a whole bunch of time, making sure that I have the water coming out. There is a restriction somewhere, and it's hard to work on it while the boat's rolling around. You got everything thrown around the cockpit to get down in the lazarette and that sort of stuff. But that will come eventually. All right, so enough of this Watermaker stuff. You guys don't want to hear this. We've been eating extremely well. We had a flank steak we cooked on the Kamado Joe Jr. Last night. Tonight we had a pasta night tonight. We're gonna do pizza, and I said, you know what? I got some pasta that I really want to use and make up some room in the fridge. I had some tortellinis and raviolis. Not raviolis in the can. This is like the fresh raviolis in there. They weren't going to be fresh for long. So we steamed those up, and I made a little red sauce, and it was wonderful. So we had that. And so we've been eating very well. Unfortunately, my, I don't know if you can see it down there, but that was my beefsteak tomato plant. When it was really rough, I don't think, as bad as the wind was, I'm sure it didn't like the wind when it was howling. It was howling on that side. But I really think it was cold, because it was so cold, I think it really froze the plant. Not freezing like ice cubes, but like it was not happy. This over here is our cherry tomato plant. We had a couple cherry tomatoes off. They didn't even turn red yet. They were orange before Chrysalida yanked them off and threw them in a salad. She was so excited about them. But anyway, unfortunately, this too looks like it's hurting. I don't know, maybe if you guys know anything about plants, you could tell me here. The debate we're having is this an issue because it doesn't like salt water? Is it an issue because it doesn't like the wind, or is it an issue because it got really cold? I say it got really cold. It was down around, 45 degrees for a while. It was really cold. But I'm hoping that this has enough energy in it that it will continue to come back. But you see the basil over there is doing fine. That kept inside. So if you guys know, hopefully, because I'm thinking, there should be no saltwater intrusion other than spray, and I had always thought that they didn't mind a little bit of saltwater spray. It wasn't like it was being doused in salt water. If anything, it was being doused with the rain when it got rained on all the time, So I don't know. But anyway, I'll have to. I brought some seeds too because I didn't think that these would make the trip, but I wanted to start it anyway. And my idea is that if I get these, I'd like to train them up around here, all the way around the Bimini, For those that didn't know me before any of this happened, when I used to live in Rhode Island, I had something called a Dutch bucket system where I think I had like 24 Dutch buckets where plants of cherry tomatoes and beefsteak tomatoes and peppers and all kinds of good stuff. And I did a whole bunch of hydroponic stuff that way, and it was really, really fun. And as soon as I say hydroponic, all you guys will say, "Oh, I know what you guys are. I know what you're doing over there." Yeah, you know what? Up until recently, I've been drug tested like all the time for work, so that I could never partake in any of that silliness. I was growing tomatoes. That's what I was growing, and a couple peppers too. I did very well, but I was always surprised how much I enjoyed gardening per se. And so I've been trying to figure out a way that I can do that on the boat. Hydroponics would be very hard to do on the boat because it moves so much, but maybe a little system right here, like where we have a little planter, and we'll see how it works. But like I say, if these die, I have seeds, so I can replant them anyway. It'll just take longer, but I've got time, so that's good. So I'm happy about that. But Chrysalida did her hair today. That's a big deal. When she washes her hair, it gets very curly, which I think is wonderful, but she likes it straight, and so she spends half the day with her head in one of those big things with a blow dryer blowing on it all day and the hair all in rollers. So I don't know what she's doing, but I think she's sound asleep after a tough day of the salon that's moving around underneath her. And then the boys are sleeping because they'll be up here in another 3 hours to take over me, or actually 2.5 hours now, for their watch. Last night was just stunningly beautiful. When they went to bed, it was all foggy, and they hadn't been gone for 2 hours before the fog lifted and the moon came up. The moon was only up for a little bit, but it was so bright, I was over here and I couldn't see the moon because of the dinghy, but I could see the reflection off the water, and it was so bright. I was like, "Oh my God, there's a boat coming up behind me." That's what it looked like. I said, "Oh no, it's just the moon." But the stars out here with no light pollution, you can see just it seems like you can see every satellite in the sky. It's amazing. Everyone talks about the different things you see out here, and I don't think that the night sky is something that people talk about as much as they should. You get out here when there's no light for 1,000 miles in either direction, and you see everything. Planes that fly by. It looks like you can. It looks like you're going to waiting to hear them, because it's like you could reach right up and touch them. And obviously, no plane is flying over the North Atlantic unless they're 36,000 feet or something like that, So, I mean, it just blows my mind. You know what? I can talk all I want, but you guys, if you haven't seen it, you won't know what I'm talking about. But it's pretty cool. And then the other thing that was really cool too is they have bioluminescence out here, and it's not the kind that in Florida where where it's a whole bunch of almost like a cloud. These are the ones that have more like they have in Monhegan, where I grew up in Maine, where it's almost like little jellies where you see like little bursts of light. So as we're and you say, well, you should take video of that. I don't have a camera that's good enough that picks that stuff up, but it's very bright for the human eye, but I don't have the technology to do that, but to show it to you. But it's pretty fun at night. You're cruising through and you see that. And then last night when that happened, we had dolphins, and the dolphins were with us all day long. I don't understand what they were doing. Like I say, everyone says the middle of the oceans are deserts. Well, you can't have a pod of dolphins that are just cruising around playing with boats unless they're getting fed somewhere. So it can't be that much of a desert. A lot of birds out here too, so I think there's some food out here. But anyway, it was really cool. You see the dolphins, not only is the boat making the bioluminescence light, but the dolphins, as they swim too, you can see them like making almost streaks through the water with it. It's really, really cool. That was really fun. And then the funny thing was, I kept hearing birds. I'm like, what? And I was looking around, I can't see anything. And all of a sudden, right over here, I see like a bat fly by. And obviously it's not a bat, it was a bird. And I think it's one of those birds that we call the Jesus birds. I don't know what the real name is, but like I say, once again, growing up in New England there, we used to call them Jesus birds because it looks like they walk on the water, and they use their feet to funnel plankton and stuff that's on the top into a place, and they pick it up with their bill, and they just hover right above the water. So it looks like they're walking on the water. We call them Jesus birds. But they were playing with the boat all last night, and it was funny because Rick told me when he was on watch, he got all strapped in and he wanted to have a look around, so he stepped over here and he's looking over here and looking around, and all of a sudden she's whee, and this bird comes flying by. I just about gave him a heart attack. But I thought that was fun. But anyway, that's about it. I've been reading a lot about doing research into marinas and ports of entry and entry procedures and all that fun, silly stuff. And a lot of these bureaucratic things that I think you just have to get there and do it. I get all wound up. They want this and they want that and they want this and they want that, and then I watch other YouTube channels, and they want all this stuff. They want my insurance policy in the language of the country that you're going to. I'm like, my insurance company wouldn't even give me a policy. They gave me a PDF, So I'm gonna try to run the PDF through a translator or something like that. But I don't know. We'll see. So and the insurance thing is when you check in, that if you don't have insurance for Horta, they'll let you anchor, but you can't bring the boat to the dock because they don't. If you hit somebody, they want to make sure that you can pay for it, that sort of thing. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Then right now, I've been up in the air about this. I'm going back and forth about this. I'm not really sure how to do this. But the plan was always to leave Horta and head to Gibraltar. And by doing that, when I left Horta, hopefully the Schengen clock would stop, and it wouldn't start until I left Gibraltar and checked into Spain, and that was always my plan. Well, if by going to Gibraltar, you have to check in there, and there's a cost to doing that, and checking the boat in, and all that sort of stuff. And it'd be fun. And there's a lot of things in Gibraltar I want to see. You know, there's 40 miles of tunneling that they've carved through there. There's a cave that was there from prehistoric times. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm a big history fan, and so the whole World War II gun emplacements and all that, I'm really into that. So I really want to spend some time in Gibraltar, and then of course the mean, nasty monkeys are over there too. But I really want to do that, but I don't know. It seems that if we go there, I'm not sure how to do this. I keep reading, and it's kind of ambiguous. Everything that I read, from Noon Sight to the cruising guides to Googling, all these different things I read, they all say that you can go right next door. They call it La Línea, the line in Spanish, and that's where you walk over the runway, and then you're in Spain. And that's a port of entry, and they say most people go there. But because if you go to a regular port of entry, you don't deal with customs and immigration officials. The marina staff does it, and they're accustomed to it, and they're used to dealing with boats, and it makes it a really easy process. And that kind of has my name all over it. That's what I like. I mean, I'm not smuggling anything. I just don't want any hassle, you know. And you go to a marina, and they do 10 of these a day. They know what to do, and I can ask them, hey, what do I need for the next place? And they'll tell me all that. Whereas if you go through a border from one country to another, they're not going to have time to talk to you about anything, you know. So there is Algeciras, which is right next door. It's like the biggest port in Spain, and it's right across the bay from Gibraltar. But it's a commercial port. Like the only recreational marina they have there is a private marina where we can't even go there anyway. So even though there's a port of entry, it's a commercial port of entry. Then the next one up the other way would be Malaga, and that goes past everything that I want to see on the Costa del Sol. My friends in Benalmádena, and I would like to go to Fuengirola, and there's a bunch of stuff. So I don't really know what to do. So there is another thing that I can do. And that's that instead of going straight to Gibraltar, you go right by Gibraltar. You know, you turn into Gibraltar, but you go right by it, go past the airport, and go right in next door to the Spanish Marina at La Línea. And at that point, the Spanish Marina people take care of you. They check you into Spain, and they're familiar with all that stuff, and all that stuff is great. But the Schenken clock starts ticking then, which I don't think is a big deal. I really think I have that covered, and we've talked about that before. But anyway, if I do that, then we could still walk across the runway, and instead of checking the boat out of Spain and into Gibraltar and all that sort of stuff, we just simply bring our passports, walk across the runway, and spend the day or 2 or 3 days in Gibraltar, you know, and come back every night. And then that would also be a cost savings, because I would be only checking into, every time you check in, there's a couple $100 you got to pay here, and sometimes some places are $1,000 suppose you have to check in. So anyway, by not checking into Gibraltar, I wouldn't have to check in there and then check into Spain. I'm going to check into Spain anyway, so why not do it at the beginning and then walk across without having to pay any of those fees? So maybe that's what we'll do. I still got some time to think about it, but you guys, if you have any thoughts of this, well, I'm sure everyone has thoughts of it, but if you know, everyone says, you know what you should do is you should do this. I say, well, wait a minute. If you haven't done it, you're just as blind as me. But if you've done it and you know a better way, then let me know. But anyway, that's that. Everything else is pretty good. We've burned about 44 hours or so of running the engine, and most of that time it's almost been at idle. That was when we first started out. We were becalmed for a couple days there, and if I'm running at speed, I should be able to get about 150 hours or better at speed and still have a 15% reserve in the tank. And so that equates to, at speed, for the whole thing, about 800 or 900 miles of range on fuel. But if we come back and you run slowly, your range gets dramatically increased, because you can cut your fuel in half and only reduce your speed by a third. You guys, you know how that works. So I'm thinking, with what we have in the tank right now, I have about 600 miles of fuel at speed, and we got 689 miles to go. So that's one option, or I could just start the engine and just go slowly. Instead of doing 6.5 or 7 knots, do 5 knots and still have enough fuel to get there. But what I'm hoping is that right now it's 4.8, 4.7, 4.9, 5.2. So we're still moving. The sails aren't flopping too badly, so we'll see what happens. Usually when the sun goes down, things change a little bit, and then they steady out again after that. So we'll see what happens. But I think we're going to have plenty of fuel to get there. And we were expecting a little lull, but maybe a little bit more wind a little later. There's the Azorean High is starting to develop right there, and we're trying to skirt the top of it so that we're not way up in the really windy part. We're not down in where there's no wind. We're trying to get right on the edge where we just have enough wind to sail, but it's still calm so we don't get beat up too badly. So that's the plan. Anyway, this video is running a lot longer than I expected. I hope you haven't bored you guys to death, but anyway, I thought it'd be fun to give you guys something to hear about our trip from the middle of the Atlantic, three-quarters of the way over to Gibraltar. So that's that. Anyway, if it's what is it? It's the second. I think it's the second today. It's Monday. Whatever Monday is, first Monday of June. That's what it is. And if everything goes right, I expect to be in Horta hopefully around Saturday, if God willing, if all goes well. So if you like these sorts of updates, let me know and I'll give you more. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And look, for everybody's been asking me for to get a SV Paquita Atlantic Circuit shirt, the ones that we were wearing at the send-off party, and I've had in a couple videos and stuff like that. And I was trying to work on that today, and I'm not a graphic guy, and so like I have like an image of what I want, but it's in the wrong color, and you've got to do a negative, and I don't know how to do any of that. So I'm trying to reach out to some friends of mine to see if they can help me out with that. But anyway, if I can get that stuff up and get it out, so it'll be in the merch thing, you guys can have all the shirts and t-shirts and sweatshirts and all that you want. But I'm working on it. I'm trying, but I'm also trying to get across the Atlantic. You guys take care, be safe, and as always, I'll see you on the one.